On YouTube there is a prevailing rule within commentary channels. It is unwritten, and I would argue 90% abide by this rule. They abide by this rule because they are very much aware of what the court of public opinion will do if the person who, let's say, sends criticism in the direction of somebody much smaller than them. They are aware of the potential fallout, which can be either positive and or negative depending on how devout and how the person who has then gone to see what the other person has done that has incurred the ire of the bigger person, who we can for the sake of this just call senpai. Why not? Let's just start cringing people out this early on. The unwritten rule is simply, we do not send harassment to anyone. In fact, it is a common point made by many people at the start of the video when they are responding to another. 5.5 years ago, I joined a community, more commonly known as anti-SJWs and the Skeptics. And within that community, there was only one creator I knew that felt they were better than the rules and actively encouraged people to go and harass others. There were some that did dodgy response videos to 14-year-old girls. Yeah, not great, the atheist gamer. Don't go harass him, by the way. The most well-known was Shoe on Head, or as she's more commonly known now, Comrade Boot on Neck, where she would actively go out of her way to send harassment to others, and because of bad tactics employed by those fans, they would flag, they would send threats of the more life-ending variety. There is a positive, by the way, to this. When you do send people in the direction of someone that disagrees with you, there will always be some that go and listen. So there is a possible benefit to subgrowth. Of course, if you employ bad tactics anyway, and then hide behind identitarian nonsense, yeah, people are going to call you out on it. Aren't they, Def Noodles? Well, isn't this just fantastic? You know, usually I put these kind of videos in the exhibition of stupid people, but this one can be a This Week at Twitter, a targeted video on one person, Dennis, aka Def Noodles, someone I've only been watching more recently. I find his style to be very funny. His voice is very loud, but he's very funny, his delivery is sound, his stand-up is pretty good because he posted some of that on his Twitter recently, his other Twitter account. All in all, he's quite entertaining. But as is the case with all creators, they wear a mask, and eventually, somewhere, that mask is going to slip. And when it does slip, oh boy, do they show their arrogant true colours. Because there are some shields, and if they have them, they'll use them. Whether it be their skin colour, whether it be their gender, their sexuality. There are more, by the way. They're usually a part of the Oppression Olympics. So I'm going to insert a couple key things now, just so you know I'm only addressing the rather poor ideas put forward by yourself, more recently on your Twitter. Disclaimer number 1. At no point in this video am I going to address anything about your appearance, because I couldn't care less, but I do want those headphones. 2. Do not, and this is to my audience, do not go and harass, bully, in any way cause any kind of suffering to the delicate man known as Def Noodles. And I call you delicate because you've been on a blocking spree, haven't you? I know this because I put out a tweet yesterday after seeing Tipster's video and I thought, no one's going to take the bait. Turns out, people showed me you took the bait because you're a bit more sensitive. And I do understand there is a line between criticism and things like racism. No one's criticizing your race in this, but some will use rather spicy language to bait you, and you took their bait. The third disclaimer is, on your Twitter you directly reference that your Twitter page is satirical. Since you took something really seriously, I'm going to discard this and talk to you seriously, because I don't have a funny bone in me. In fact, I'm incredibly boring. You're going to have to get used to that for the rest of this video before you block me. because you're as brave as Chris Hansen. So a YouTube channel by the name of Grady Hooper, who had less than 1,000 subs when the video was released, put out a video called The Problem with Def Noodles. The big takeaway point from the 10-minute video was a lot of Def Noodles content is repetitive, and that is a valid criticism of Def Noodles. There are many other points that he makes. I consider quite a bit of it to be fairly arbitrary, no offence to Grady Hooper. But Def Noodles didn't take this very well, and decided to put the kid on blast on Twitter by tweeting out the video, obviously under the guise of a joke. The problem with this tweet is, and it's the big problem, you didn't tell your audience not to harass, and because you have such a large platform, certain things are expected of you. You are meant to be seen to be above it. If you had seen the video and just simply said, fair points, this could have been swept under the rug, but you didn't. Instead, you took the bait and decided to run with it under the guise of mer satire, yo. Bit childish. Allow me to give you some mad education. We, as YouTube content creators, you for 18 months, this is your job, are expected by the majority of people to operate under a certain set of standards. You have to set an example. There are a number of other creators that are a bit like you. Jackmate is the other one I know about, that has publicly said he's quite alright with people going after others and going nuts and criticising them. And it is a tad dangerous. You know this. You know it now though because of how others responded to you, who again you took the bait from, but also how, because of how you operate your Twitter as a, air quote, satirical Twitter account, there's always going to be the edge of, is he actually going to take something serious, or is he going to look incredibly salty? It's weird. To continue this thread of education, in the 5.5 years I've been on YouTube, there have been about 7 videos made against me. I've responded to 4 of them. 3 of them, though, no, because they had valid points. In fact, I've had very open and public discussions with those people, the most notable of which was a vegan called Jack Green, who annihilated me. We discussed over Facebook and Skype, and honestly, I took my lump, because I'm a bloody grown-up. At no point did I go, yeah, but you've got like 1,000 subs, I got 10. You're nothing to me, mate. I've got a best friend, everyone. You know what to do. It sounds like a bit of a segue. To get back to the original point, because of how you framed your tweet, and at no point did you say, don't harass them, people think you're encouraging it. If it was just a screenshot without a link to the video, this also might have gone under the rug, but it didn't. And it especially didn't because you took bait from Augie. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You know when you kinda get some criticism, you look at them and then you look down at them? Yeah, that's what you did, Def Noodles. That earlier mentioned mask that hides the arrogance surfaced when you looked down at Augie and other creators that you considered, like him, the moral compass. We'll get to that tweet soon, I promise. In fact, I might as well just say for a disclaimer now, there is no such thing as a moral compass within commentary communities, because as is the case with all commentary communities that have ever existed, they rise and then they inevitably fall. There's no moral compass, only survivors. And you're not better than them. The moment you start thinking you are better than somebody, you've lost respect for yourself, and your audience will eventually start to lose respect for you. It is a place of arrogance, and as entertaining as you are as a comedian, you have to learn to take criticism. Earlier I used your video on Without a Crystal Ball to reference you, with no level of irony, considering you're criticizing someone who also can't take criticism. What a unique club to be in. Hell, she's even on your side. In response to what you said and all the disagreements you had on your totally satirical Twitter, Def Noodles, switching to that instead of you, went on a blocking spree. And we're talking full-on spree. Anyone that has commented negatively towards Def Noodles has been blocked because he's a grown-up yo and can take criticism. Of course, to him it's hate, not criticism. Okay, bit childish. I see a prevalent theme in this video. You're a man-child. Ricky Berwick had some comments when it came to your tweet in conclusion, explaining the fine line and difference between criticism and hate.
It's f***ing December, bitch! Calm the f*** down, Mr. Noodles!
So perhaps now we should address the conclusion. Def Noodles' Twitter statement on this whole situation. There's a group of YouTubers who attempt to present themselves as the moral centre of the commentary community. As of earlier proven, they don't exist. They're not the moral centre, they're just a clique. These same YouTubers dogpile on other YouTubers whenever they get a chance. Spoken with no level of irony for the lone wolf here. Sorry, lone kitty. Don't get it twisted. They would never face off one-on-one, they need the group. So I've been told. These YouTubers bait people to respond, and when they get a response, they say the person is too sensitive for responding. I don't think you read the tweets that were directed at you the same way everyone else read them. I'm gonna skip to the end. This group of YouTubers are right now going on a stream where they will most likely read this thread in an attempt to mock me. Yes, because you rather arrogantly said they were beneath you. That's what you said. Def Noodles, Dennis mate. You blocked Tipster. One of the calmest and most neutral responses against you. By comparison, I'm just the sedative, okay? The final piece of advice I'm going to give you actually comes from your own Twitter. Sneaky way to silence valid criticism is by saying it's hate. Criticism is part of social discourse. You don't need to hate someone to criticize them for doing something wrong. Framing criticism as hatred is dishonest, and an attempt to shield against criticism rather than addressing the issue. Truer words have never been spoken, Dennis. Grow up.